65, and James Earl Ray are all on this day. Welcome back to On This Day. Today's date is March 10th, 2023. It is the 69th day of the year. You got 296 days left. It is the 10th Friday in the 10th week and the 80th day of winter. There are 10 days left until spring. Today is National Ranch Day. For National Ranch Day on March 10th, you should put ranch on everything. We mean it, everything, because honestly, what dish isn't made better by ranch dressing? Or just ranch flavoring? They got ranch flavoring for your popcorn. Ranch on a salad? Absolutely. Ranch on fries? Yes, please. Ranch on a sandwich? Why not? Ice cream? I'm not sure about that one. For today, don't worry about the calories, just put ranch on something and eat it. Hidden Valley claims to have created the first ranch back in 1954 on its Dude Ranch in the mountains outside of Santa Barbara. So the story goes that this guy, Stephen Henson, worked as a plumber in Alaska and his wife was up there and they were also like the cooks for the place. And they were kind of throwing things together to kind of spice up the food because they had run out of dressing or whatever, run out of condiments, and they mixed up this stuff, started serving it to people. They really liked it. Later on, he buys this Hidden Valley Ranch, which was just property at the time, turned it into a Dude Ranch and started serving it to people. Basically, they mixed buttermilk and a bunch of herbs. Eventually, all the guests at the Dude Ranch wanted the recipe, so he started packaging it and giving it to them as they left. One thing led to another, and they started selling it in grocery stores. In 1972, Clorox bought Hidden Valley Ranch dressing for $8 million, and Kraft Food and General Foods were quickly hit by lawsuits for trying to create their own ranch varieties. While staving off copycats, Clorox was hard at work revamping the recipe to exclude expensive buttermilk and developing a pantry bottled version, which required no refrigeration. The buttermilk needed the refrigeration. I was exposed to it through Doritos like so many other people. They had Cool Ranch Doritos. Then next thing I know, I started eating ranch dressing on everything. If I go to a pub or a comedy club or something like that, one of the first things I get are mozzarella sticks with ranch dressing. I'll eat that all the time. Sure, does nothing good for my waistline, but I still love it. All right, let's see what else March 10th has given us. 1848, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo is ratified by the United States Senate, ending the Mexican-American War. 1891, Almond Stroger, I hope I pronounced that right, patents the Stroger switch, a device that led to the automation of telephone circuit switching. 1922, Mahatma Gandhi is arrested in India during a bar fight. Just kidding. He was tried and sentenced to 6 years for sedition, only to be released after 2 years for an appendix operation. If you don't know who Gandhi was, he was against all violence. So that's where the joke comes from, arrested in a bar fight. I think it was Rodney Dangerfield, might have been another comic, but he was talking about some supermodel at the time, I don't know, Cindy Crawford or whatever, and he said, the chances of me getting a date with her are the same chances Mahatma Gandhi would help me out in a bar fight. 1933, the Long Beach earthquake affects the greater Los Angeles area. Now, this is a very interesting part of Southern California history and really American history. The Long Beach earthquake was one of the harshest earthquakes the Los Angeles area had ever had. I had an uncle who was in high school at the time. It was near downtown Torrance, California, which is only a handful of miles away from Long Beach, maybe like 20 miles. He was walking down this sidewalk, which is right, I know where the place is. It's still similar to how it used to be, like this green space. But he said he was walking down the sidewalk and the earthquake started to hit, and it got so bad that they all laid on the ground. He said he could see the sidewalk moving like waves, and it was one after the other, just like you'd see at the ocean as the waves would come in. Said one of his friends, it lifted him up so hard it smacked them back down because they were laying on their stomachs, knocked the wind out of him. They thought he broke his ribs. And yes, he was my great uncle. Not my uncle. I don't think my uncle was born until 1940. Anyway, they left Torrance High after football practice, which is a historic old building. Beverly Hills 90210 was filmed there. A bunch of other shows. But, so they leave there after football practice and the ground starts shaking. They get downtown and they actually had to help people who had been in buildings that had kind of collapsed. Luckily, they didn't have a tsunami, but about 120 people died from this. 115 directly, and then there was like 5 others that had died of heart attacks. Now, besides Torrance High having some damage, some schools, buildings had actually collapsed. This led to big changes in California and the Los Angeles area for like reinforced masonry for buildings that had a certain amount of people. houses actually had to be connected to the foundation better. They had a whole bunch of homes that had just been lifted off the foundation and set next to it, basically. Now, the problems didn't end there. This had done some serious damage to the rail system that was coming to the Los Angeles area. Store shelves were empty for weeks. Even though it's a good distance from Los Angeles, downtown Los Angeles, I should say, they had some damage there, and they felt it all the way into the San Joaquin Valley, Owens Valley, and northern Baja, California. Now, what's strange about this one, it was only 6.4 magnitude, which the Los Angeles area has seen bigger earthquakes, but the ground was soaked. They had had serious rainstorms. It basically amplified the earthquake. A majority of the fatalities resulted from people running out of building and exposing themselves to falling bricks and things like that. 1969 in Memphis, Tennessee, James Earl Ray pleads guilty to assassinating Dr. Martin Luther King. He later unsuccessfully attempts to recant his confession. We've talked about this before, that years after he'd been convicted, I think it was like the early 90s, he'd come out and said, no, I was a patsy and they told me to do this and I was covering up for something else, and the King family was actually backing him on it. James Earl Ray died on April 23rd, 1998 in a prison hospital. 1977, astronomers discover the rings of Uranus. I know, I'm a child, but that makes me laugh. It's rough being a man in his 50s that still laughs at jokes he laughed at when he was in 8th grade. 2000, the dot-com bubble peaks, with the NASDAQ Composite Stock Market Index reaching 5,048.62. I kind of had a feeling something was going on, and about a week before it peaked, I pulled a bunch of my tech stocks out. Something was weird. I don't know what clued me into it, but I lucked out on that one. It wasn't any kind of skill. It wasn't anything like that. I just got lucky. Some of my relatives, not so much. 2006, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter arrives at Mars. Should that be on Mars? They have it listed at Mars. Movies released on March 10th, today, 2023, 65. I saw the trailer for this. It looks amazing. I hope it is. A science fiction film that follows an astronaut who crash lands on a mysterious planet inhabited by massive reptiles. He quickly realizes he's landed on prehistoric Earth. The film was directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods. Danny Elfman, the frontman for Oingo Boingo, did all the music. It stars Adam Driver, who played Kylo Ren in the Star Wars movies, and this young lady named Ariana Greenblatt. Those are like the only two people really listed as stars for this movie. But I'm going to see it. It looks good. Born on March 10th, 1940, Chuck Norris, martial arts star of TV's Walker, Texas Ranger, who became an internet sensation in 2005 with memes based on exaggerated feats of combat about him. We've all heard those. You know, it's just not even about combat. It's just about Chuck Norris. You know, Chuck Norris's tears cure cancer. Too bad he never cries. When Chuck Norris goes swimming in the oceans, the sharks get out of the water. All kinds of ridiculous memes. Just recently, he was doing an interview with someone, and he did his own meme. The guy was asking him about pictures around his house, and he goes, oh, this is me and a Bengal tiger. When we were taking this picture, there was a growl, and the trainer said, he's getting aggressive, stand up, and back away calmly. And the tiger did. It's classic. If you get a chance, YouTube that. It's amazing. I've actually did jujitsu with him. When he did Walker, Texas Ranger, some of the stunt guys were the Machado brothers who taught me jujitsu. So while all that was going on, this is like the early 90s, mid 90s maybe, he would always come to the studio. He was learning jujitsu. He's a lot smaller than I thought he was going to be. He was probably in his late 50s, early 60s at the time, but he was pretty strong older gentleman who was actually probably about my age now. But he's only about 5'9", 5'10". I always thought he was in 6'2" or something like that. I'm 5'9" and about the same height as me. Remarkably, the man doesn't have much ego. I mean, he's willing to learn, and if you got him in something while wrestling, he wants to stop and figure out how you did it. He just wants to learn. At least that's the vibe I got from him. Really nice guy. His experience in Korea as an Air Force policeman led to the formation of his own form of martial arts called Chun-Kuk-Do, which is based on elements of Tang Soo Do and other combat styles. Turns 83 today. Died on March 10th, 1998, Lloyd Bridges, Sea Hunter star who appeared in over 150 films. He also played roles in How the West Was Won, Roots, and The Blue and the Gray. He graduated from UCLA before starting in acting. He acted as the father to his real son in the movie Blown Away, which was Jeff Bridges. He's also father to actor Beau Bridges. He has some other kids that didn't do any acting, Garrett Miles Bridge and Cindy Bridges. I loved him as the air traffic controller head guy on all the airplane movies. He was great in those. Lloyd Bridges died on March 10th, 1998 of natural causes. He was 85 years old. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.